Bam.
Good afternoon, Amsterdam, and wherever you are in the world.
Yes, wherever you are in the world.
Hey, Andy.
Because it's 12 o'clock here, and I know it's going to be pretty early or pretty late for people other places.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're considering date or time changes because of that. So we'll be doing more shows at 5, so people in the U.S. won't have to wake up at the crack of not even dawn. But
exactly.
And today, what? Today?
We have Overcoming Insecurity with Iris.
With Iris. I always call her Iris. Iris Ofer.
And you say? I call her Iris Ofer.
And we are going to have her for the hour on
A Wonderful Chaos. We did it!
Hello. An hour.
An hour on how to overcome, or the journey at least, of overcoming
insecurity.
Like, I don't really see you, when I look at you, Andy, you're like quite open, and like I feel that you're really tapped into all your emotions. Like, is insecurity an emotion that you actually cross paths in this time? Like, I don't really see that.
Well, let's put it this way. Like, no. In answer to your question, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But let's make it clear. I can go emotionally to earlier states in my existence. It's like, wow, I was so insecure then. I can feel that now, like I felt it then.
Okay.
Like I can allow it in to say, wow, and then I feel this weird incapacitation, and I get a very heavy head, like in the frontal lobe. Gets really like there's like this confusion that I see would come in, and often would come around women specifically, because I was so uncomfortable asking a woman out. Like the big joke was like, you'd only go out with a woman that would ask you out before, right?
Oh, I don't know that joke.
Yeah, well, I mean, the joke was like Ronnie would always say, "Oh yeah, so that woman must have asked you out if you went out with her," sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there was a lot of insecurity, and I can say connect into it, and the reason why I saw Iris, or Edith, as you say, wanting to have her on was because Edith is actually one of our viewers who sort of made this show worth doing for me. Because when we do this show, there'll be like a kind of a group of viewers that come in on a regular basis.
Yeah, she's one of them.
And she's one of them. And there'll be a group of viewers that comment, which is like, so it's a subset of a subset that we get, like, wow, we have people that are really even interacting with us while we're doing this. Like, and so now I'm thinking to myself, well, this is so sweet. And then there's a loving kind of connection, because on the show, we really are who we are. So when people like spend time with us, I kind of feel like, wow, they kind of in a way become friends.
Yeah.
Even if we've never met them before, because in some ways it's like you really know the kind of person you're dealing with. So there's a vulnerability in how, at least I feel like I'm showing up, saying things that could be judged or looked at, and like, wow, isn't it great? And now someone is connecting and staying with us. That's a real connection for me. So when Edith then, she what did she do? She basically put her own video online, and she tagged the two of us.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I'll say, don't tag me in your videos, right? But in this one, I saw it, and it was just a beautiful sharing. It was just her sharing how we were in some ways an inspiration for her, just to be vulnerable and do things that she wouldn't otherwise do. And in her sharing, she discussed overcoming insecurity. Like that was one of the main topics that she mentioned.
Yeah.
And then I said, wow, we're gonna just have her on and spend time discussing overcoming insecurity, because I think like that is one of these topics that when anyone's thinking about whatever they want to do with their lives, they're always like, yeah, but then that might happen.
Yeah.
Then that might happen. And then you're like, okay, so how do we like get like a little bit at peace with whatever the worst case scenario we create in our heads? And then how do we maybe even find joy in that? And I thought, the beauty of this is that Edith is not what do we call it? An authority on this subject.
No.
nor are we, for obviously. But in that way, we get to spend time with someone where none of us is an authority and all of us get to share an experience.
Beautiful. Shall we bring her on?
Yeah, we should share. We shall, we must, we will.
Hello, hello, Iris.
Hello, Edith.
Hi.
So first of all, just like tell us, Iris or
Iris.
Iris?
Yeah, I was born Iris, but because I live abroad, when I talk to people who speak English, I say Iris is also fine.
Okay.
Nice. Iris comes from like some goddess of some sort.
No, they called me like this because of the flower, but
Oh.
it is also the goddess of the rainbow, and it is also the iris in the eye and in the camera, so it has many meanings. Yeah.
Beautiful. I was really excited to have you on, as you know from my intro. And I was excited because I was like, we get to talk to somebody who's just going to be present with us, and we're going to have a talk around a subject that we'll all be able to identify with where we feel that in ourselves and how we're dealing with it. And I thought, isn't that cooler than having an authority on that says, hey, here are the 5 things you need to do in order to overcome insecurity.
And then that person doesn't even show themselves.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what are the 5 things you do to overcome insecurity?
Yeah, I'm kind of prepared for this, even though you are in favor of no preparations. But I
Yeah.
knew, like you said, it's gonna be like a talk with friends almost, even
Yeah.
though we just met each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first one is meditation for sure. Like the meditation is my medicine for everything, really.
When you say
And-
meditation, what does that mean to you? Because I think everyone
Yeah.
has a different idea of what that would mean. So what do you do when you say meditation?
Exactly. So meditation, it's very varied. So I can do it either walk meditation or, well, basically, preferably, I prefer to lie down, and I lie down so all my body is relaxed and only the mind is kind of the essence. And I even put layers on me, so blankets and eye cover. Like really to block me from the world, from the external world.
Wow.
And then I really go deep within, and either I will do work of personal development, like really processing my emotions and maybe uplifting vibrations or energies, or maybe being with the emotion. And sometimes it's manifestation, so I really manifest what I want to achieve. And sometimes it's quiet the thoughts and just relax. But really, most of the time, it's personal development that I do during the meditation.
Nice.
And it gives me, because I'm in a relaxed state, it gives me a lot of insights.
Yeah.
I think because I'm an introvert, I need to block everything outside of me and go really, really inward in order to get answers.
There's something that you said that's funny, that even as you said it, I could feel myself go inward, is that you said covering yourself. And I saw that they've had these blankets, these extra thick blankets that they now have. They kind of give people a sense that they're even kind of in the womb sort of feeling.
Yeah.
And even as you just spoke about it, I even felt in my body like, wow, I see how much peace that brings me.
Yeah, I'm having my blanket here.
Yeah.
It's really bringing peace. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had a little blanket that I had as a child that I still have today.
Wow.
My blankie.
So what are the other 4 things?
What is your thing, though? Before we go to her, this is not only about interviewing her. What's your thing? What do you do when the insecurity comes up?
Oh, I fully acknowledge that it's there, and I just tell it's not going to define. So what do I do? And I just actively move through it.
You're very proactive in that process.
Yeah. But days like yesterday, I woke up and I was, it's like because I grind a lot, which means I get up really early and I really push. And yesterday, I really had to overcome my mind. Like I woke up and I was just faced with questioning my whole life, my foundation, my core. And I just didn't want to get out of bed. And I just have to say, Bambos, stand up now. You're not staying in bed. And like the first thing I did was just go take a cold shower, just to wake up the senses. I moved my body, and then I sat on the balcony. And as opposed to a blanket, I actually sit naked on the balcony. and I allow the elements to touch me.
Mm.
And I meditate in that way. And I do love using a blindfold, by the way, also when I'm on the balcony. And that was at 4:30 in the morning. And then I went and did my workout. And it just stayed with me, that feeling. It just stayed with me the whole day. And I just recognized that it wasn't about solving it or pushing it away, but I'm still going to move through the day, but I'm going to allow that to also be part of it. So it wasn't about overcoming anything. It was really about, you can be here, but you're not going to define me.
Beautiful. Yeah, don't pretend it isn't that way. Yeah. Yeah, that goes in beyond insecurity. If I hear you, it's really into what, like, just where your mind isn't serving you in terms of just motivation, even.
Yeah, I don't trust my thoughts. So when I have thoughts, I just don't buy into them.
Yeah, it's good. I don't trust mine either. So we share that.
Like, how does that impact you? I'm curious. How, like, the way I've shared. I guess I feel insecure that maybe it's too intense.
No, I see it as just really different people work in different ways. And yeah, a lot of times, Bambos, I see with you and me a lot of similarities, but a lot of really different approaches of how we approach things, because we kind of, maybe stumble into the same difficulties in life, but you approach it from a very masculine way and active. And I'm very going inwards and like a bit passive also, but that's what helps me. And I do a lot of work with my mind, with my thoughts. So I'm not like differentiating that it's now I'm thinking, so it's logic, so it's one thing, and now I'm feeling, so it's emotion, so it's another thing. No, with me, they are very, very combined. And I work a lot with NLP. So it's like really the reframing and reclaiming and thinking about thoughts from another perspective. So I do actually a lot of work with the thoughts in my brain.
Yeah. I love when I love it. There's many ways to get to Rome.
Yeah. I also I've loved this from you for a while, even if you maybe didn't know it. I hinted at it in a message I sent you once, but like, there's a way, you, as I saw before you coming on, you did gender studies, right? That's what I understood. And when I've spoken with people who've done gender studies, there's often a very firm belief of like reaffirming stereotypes and like there's a like you are part of that old paradigm, right? Like not and so when we did our show some weeks ago and we used the word hooker instead of sex worker, right? Or something. There was talk about it, but in some ways there was like, I understood from you that there was an insight around there's terminology, and the terminology has an implication, and you're seeing the world in a much broader scope than other people today that are just using language. At least that's what the impression that I had.
Yeah.
And I didn't sense, like I sensed with a lot of others, that you judged it, which is what I found beautiful. And it was like, it's almost like I have an understanding for it, and I'd welcome you to see a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
And that I find to be an incredibly beautiful quality that I believe changes the world, because in that quality, nothing gets alienated. So I just wanted to celebrate that in you at the moment, just since we have you on now.
Yeah, thank you. I really feel it's important to have a scale always.
Yeah, really nice. I notice when I'm insecure, like, I tend to go to the depth. Like, I say, what is the thing I'm most frightened of? So like, I'll say, like, I'll often take the thing, and instead of managing it, I'll take it to the greatest extreme. So I'll just invite myself, almost, I would call it, to the meditation of, Annie, what are you most frightened of? Oh, I'm most frightened of that I'll be seen as this, or they won't understand me, or they won't. And then I'll do what Bambos knows I've done for years now, and it's in the next book, is a lot of this reclamation work. That's like, I am not going to be loved, and it's okay. It's actually fucking great. Or they're not going to see me, and it's just fine. or when we started this show, you know how bad the production was. I mean, in a way that, like, I didn't say it as bad. In fact, I celebrated it. But if we're honest with ourselves, shoving an iPad into a helmet and then interviewing somebody, it was just absurd. And there was this beauty of saying, it's fine, it's great. And then that's how the title of Wonderful Chaos came on from
Natalie.
Yeah. And she was on, and she just said, this is a wonderful chaos.
Yeah.
And when she said it was like, wow, what I noticed is that in this overcoming insecurity, it's really almost embracing the greatest fear that's underneath that insecurity. And that's how I've gone through it, at least in my older life, not in my younger. But, I just sort of like kind of laugh and enjoy that. Oh, that's crazy. Wow, I feel that way. And there's sort of a celebration. And then I almost tend to celebrate it more, like the only thing that stops me. What do you think stops me, Bambos? I'm curious if you.
Your wife.
My wife. I didn't know you'd answer. I didn't know you'd know that quickly, actually. But that's the only thing that stops me.
Yeah. He takes her into account. He takes her into account.
I take her into account. We're together, and I love her. And there's things that she's like, Andy, I don't want you posing naked on the internet. And I'm like, okay, I won't do that. If that's what we need, so you feel okay, then I won't do that.
Let's say I would say, Andy, I would love to have a photograph of you at a traffic light reading a newspaper with a coffee, high socks, and nothing else on.
Oh, I jump on it in a second.
So that would not be allowed.
No.
I think in addition to what you said, because you were talking about, think about the worst case scenario. So what are you most afraid of? What is the worst case scenario that's going to happen? And I work with that too, to show me that it's not so worse. Like, it's not so bad. Life will go on even if I fail, or even if I make a fool out of myself on broadcast, or I don't know what I'm afraid of. And also another thing that I learned from the NLP is that I've heard it like wherever you go, third of the people will like you, third of them will not like you, and third of them won't care, like be neutral about you. So it's really helpful to think that way, because you don't want to be liked by everyone and accepted by everyone. It's almost impossible. So why would you?
Bambos, are those your percentages? I don't think so.
I all I know is, you walk into a room and sometimes you can't be loved by everyone. So just enjoy who you are.
Yeah. I've gone through different phases in my life where I don't think those percentages were the breakdown. They would probably be like 70% of the people didn't like me, 10% didn't care, and then 20% did, or something like that. I know it's true for Bambos as well. He might not admit it.
No, I admit it.
But yeah, it's interesting. There's something. There's a distinction in that I'd like to touch on, and it goes a little bit to the reason why that I try to do it the way I do it and not another way. And again, we go to it's not that one is better, but at least I saw what the approach I've been taking to it, how it's made it so that I just feel very relaxed. Is that in a way I'm not managing my thoughts.
You're not getting involved with them.
I'm not actually saying I need to trick my brain into thinking, no, that's not actually true. Let me make it a bit cleaner in the description. So as soon as I embrace just the thing that would be potentially the hardest thing to embrace, basically what happens is my mind settles and I don't have that thought anymore. It just goes away. So I don't have to say, well, maybe 30% are going to like me, 30% won't, and then 30% won't even think about it. Because in that way, I felt like I'm still managing the thought, and then the thought comes back over and over again. And then I find different ways to manage the thought. So the one thing I have found in at least approaching it from a very, what I call it, the radical self-love process, this reclamation work, is that in just saying, oh, this is the worst thing, and it's fucking great. If I went, and it's true, it's not like if I went on the TV of a national program and I just fucked it up so bad, I would leave and say, that was great. I would not leave and say, oh my God, literally it is that feeling. And the only way I see myself able to fully embrace it is by taking the worst thought and giving it like free and utter peace. Otherwise, I see myself managing that thought all the time. Yeah, that's the reason why I just wanted to distinguish it a little bit more.
Like this you weren't there last week, but on Friday we came up with a game which I took what Andy does. So I am not loved, and it's fucking awesome. And then you had to sell it to the rest of the group. Why it's so great to not be loved, and what are all the benefits. And and I don't remember if we even sang it out, but it was really like hilarious to the point where we couldn't take the thought or the belief seriously anymore.
Yeah, we actually did it on Monday check-in with Judith. So I was able to participate as well, and it was really nice. Yeah.
Nice.
But
So
it's also, yeah,
Go
what
ahead,
you
Jude.
said, I mean, is another practice that I use is self-love. So really, self-love is the most important after together with meditation. Yeah. But yeah, when you love yourself and accept yourself and learn who you are, then you accept everything, also your fuck-ups and failures. But also you know that you will grow from there. Like every experience that happened in my life, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, was good eventually because it taught me and it brought me to where I am. So this is also another perspective. And yeah, radical self-love is always recommended.
What was the thing for you? Because you did your video, right? You said you hadn't done videos to that point. So what is the thing that you felt like you had to overcome in order to start doing your lives?
Yeah, the fear. Well, first of all, the fear of being seen, being the center of attention, being on a stage. I still have this fear and I manage it in a way. And the fear of being judged, getting feedbacks. Like I was always insecure about what I want to share, if the message is important, if people will understand it, if people will even listen. Always the thought of like, what will people think and do? Because I grew up, part of my childhood was being exposed to a lot of criticism and opinions of other people, because it's really a different culture. And that's kind of rooted in me to be always scared of how people will react.
So, interesting, because now if I take that, I mean, I can certainly relate. I felt a visceral reaction when you were speaking. So I'm assuming you're talking about being raised in Israel.
Yes.
Okay, so when you were raised there, you felt that the culture you were in was very much like pointing out where people weren't adequate enough.
In everywhere, you could walk in the street and get a remark from a stranger. It's that really, like, everybody is into each other's life and sharing an opinion. Like they say, the Dutch are direct; they haven't met Israelis.
I was going to say, yeah, I have the same experience, but this is as close as the second as you can come, I found. But so you say, since you were raised in that, and you didn't find a way to embody it in yourself. If I hear you speak.
I was shy. I was insecure. I had social anxieties. When I first lived here, I was afraid to go on the elevator and talk to people.
Yeah. So when you say overcoming insecurities, I mean, you're really talking about like really overcoming insecurities. So for you to do a YouTube video where the Israelis might be watching and saying, hey, what is she doing?
I mean,
yeah, also it's kind of like breaking out from who I was, like how I was someone when I was in Israel, and then I became someone completely different when I left. And kind of wanting to show the new me to the world is scary. Like I wasn't related to spirituality and personal development back then, maybe. And so the friends and tribe that I had, they don't even know or do with these things. And suddenly I'm only about personal development and spirituality and mindfulness and yoga and all that. So it was kind of new me also.
You had a question?
Oh, it was more like you really had to overcome yourself. Like everything that your mind, the stories that you believe, you had to overcome your beliefs when you did that video.
Totally. And also since then I've been doing more videos, and because the last video, like last week, didn't get enough, for my opinion, enough attention, I stopped completely. I was like, no, it doesn't work, nobody listens, fuck this shit, I'm not gonna be on Facebook anymore. And then I realized I am the one who censors myself, because it's my story, my thought, and my belief. But I can express myself whenever I want, and nobody will shut me down. It's only me who shut myself.
Yeah. Now you understand why you being like the only second viewer was so important to us. When I told you earlier, I said like how important you were to us, like watching and being part of the show. And I was like, yeah, that's why so now you see, so you gave us the thing that you're actually asking others for as well. some recognition to be seen in whatever it is you're going through.
I mean, you've seen my solo sessions.
Yeah, 1 hour solo.
1 hour solo. Sometimes I'll get like one person,
Yeah,
and then they blink off. Get another person, 2 people, 3 people, they blink off.
yes.
And sometimes I might be crying and I have 9 people watching, and at some point I'll stop and I'll look on the corner and I'll see 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I gotta cry again.
And yeah, that's why it's so inspiring and so brave, because I totally understand why you do that, Mambos, and I don't understand why people don't understand why you do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't understand it either.
this is the process. This is the work. You go out and show yourself into the world with who you are, and that's overcoming a lot.
What I want to say is, I'll even name it. Oh, apparently 9 people have just vanished, and I can feel how it impacts me. I feel really uncomfortable. Like I'll talk to that. Yesterday I finished the
2 days ago.
2 days ago, I said,
It's the best.
"Thank you for not watching."
I walked in as he's ending his show, and he says, "Thank you for not watching."
I mean, I haven't done live yet. I've uploaded videos, but if I would do a live, then I would also wish, like, okay, don't watch it now. You can watch the replay after. Just then don't put an eye in front of me.
I have a nice trick. Just minimize the screen so you don't look at yourself, and you just focus on being with yourself.
Oh, nice.
So you're not impacted by the external. It's like putting a blindfold.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, and I think it's also our age, because we're not used to this social media thing. We weren't born with it.
Exactly. It's very new. I noticed that for me, like as I like downloaded TikTok, and then I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm just trying to see if we have any comments coming in from the other streams we have. We broadcast in so many places now that a lot of people will add comments, but they won't come in where we are. So we have to check on the other devices just to make sure that we're not missing any comments. So we'll just check to make sure, Bambos, in case.
Yeah.
I've noticed there's been some really great questions from people. We haven't been able to check in with them because we haven't been online.
So how are you feeling right now, Iris, being with us, being on this live?
Yeah, a bit more relaxed. I was insecure also about this live before, of course.
What was your story?
Yeah, the most insecurity I had was that I won't be able to be understood or be clear or say everything I want to say. So that's why I'm writing these things down. But yeah, I'm more in the flow.
I don't understand what she's saying.
We don't understand what you're saying.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Can you say that again?
You're playing with me.
Oh, so you said the first one was meditation, and you did prepare, and you said just now you wanted to be able to say everything you wanted to say. So what was the second practice that you wrote down that you said that basically?
Yeah, because we talked about them actually with the conversation, because there's meditation, there is self-love.
Okay,
which
self-love.
for itself is a practice. I had to work on my self-esteem and self-confidence separately, and then together, and then still with those you can still have insecurities. So
slow down. You just said a lot of things that like seemed really powerful. I had to work on self-love and self-esteem separately, and then see if I could bring them together.
Self-esteem and self-confidence.
Self-confidence, sorry. Self-esteem and I've never made a distinguishing there, and I don't understand, like, what is the difference in self-esteem and self-confidence? Like, what is that?
Yeah, so for example, I could have self-esteem and think about myself that I'm worthy and that I'm wise. But then the minute I go to a group or I need to speak in front of people, I don't have the confidence, or confidence is more about what you do, and self-esteem is more about what or how you perceive and think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And confidence is also it's about what you do in your relation with others.
Okay.
So I could have self-esteem but not have self-confidence with people, for example.
Uh-huh.
or if I need to do something that I've never done before. So I was very confident in the corporate world because I have such experience there. I could go into an interview and be with my full chest like open and really proud. But then when I stand in front of a class of yoga, because it was new to me, I wasn't confident at all. And also in Hebrew, and I learned a lot about the words and language. So in Hebrew, self-confidence means two things. It's also self-trust, which is another aspect. So the trust is there, the trust in yourself that you will always, yeah.
That's a big one, actually. I'd like to dig into that for a moment. Like, Bambas, when you look at me and you talk about what you'll project onto me, I often feel what Edith now says. Like, I have a massive amount of self-trust. Like in Edith, when you say that, I can totally identify with what I had to change in my life in order to overcome insecurity was I'd say one of the core elements, which would probably deal with a lot of the self-esteem issues and all that is just self-trust.
Yeah.
Like I might not understand the topic at all, but I just trust that I'll figure it out. Like there's a deep feeling, like the book writing, right? I wrote the books on my iPhone and just said, I can do this. But it wasn't like I could do it because I had an experience or because I had a degree, for God's sake. So it's really beautiful to hear that in this discussion, I'm kind of learning as well that one of the cores for me at this moment was like, oh, I just trust. I trust in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Learn to be the most important person in your life that you trust, that will always have your back, will always support you, will always lift you up when you're down. Like I am the most important person, so I need to trust myself to be there for me. And also life teach you that, like you go through difficulties and then you go through the other side and say, oh, I can trust myself now because I've been through that.
Yeah. I think that's a lot. What you're speaking to is, again, one of these things that's always easy to speak as you age and then say, oh, I've overcome that. But the truth is you've been through so much shit that you actually now trust, oh, you know how these things end up. Like you just become to be able to surrender to life more because of your life experience.
Yeah. And that's why also when COVID started, I was like, yeah, it's okay. If I need money, I can work in cleaning or any other job. I can always take care of myself with money because I know I've been through that already.
Yeah. And I've been through that as well. So I know, yeah, I wouldn't have any issue going to Albert Heijn and getting a job. That wouldn't be an issue for me.
They wouldn't hire you. They only hire young people.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that I thought you were going to give me something else, but yes,
no, young people.
No, they only hire good-looking people.
Low cost.
Ageism.
Interesting. Yeah, but yeah, that's really beautiful. And we have Magda, who's in Austria, who often watches. And
Magdalena.
Magdalena is saying that you're very inspiring, Iris.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can see that there'd be kind of qualities that she would also have where she wouldn't be comfortable from my knowing Magda jumping into the world and just bearing her soul on a live chat or a live Facebook page, right? So, yeah. And you said like that you sort of went on a journey, and the journey was sort of from a corporate journey, and now you have yoga as this and spirituality and everything else that's come with it. Is this sort of other part?
I'm in the midst of the journey. So I've been in a lot of different countries and I tried to look for a place to live in. And at some point I lived in Amsterdam and I left Amsterdam to look for a community in nature, but I came back here. And I'm still looking, but now I'm looking in different ways. I'm kind of looking for a community here in Amsterdam, and I want to work with the soil and the ground here in Amsterdam. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in Portugal or Spain or something with a different climate.
Yeah.
And also I'm still working in the corporate because it gives me a lot of stability and peace of mind.
And security.
Yes, and I'm good at this, and I'm kind of like accepting also that side of me, of the organizational skills.
Yeah.
And on the side, I'm kind of in the midst. I'm really in the midst of a journey, and I'm trying to redefine a service, because these days everybody is doing really everything. So you have personal development on all spectrum, and
Yeah.
yoga and everything, and with corporate. So I kind of want to stick out, or stand out, or be unique, and I'm still looking for that thing.
Yeah. And I guess part of that thing for you would be overcoming insecurity.
It's part of the process always in
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Like I teach yoga, but I teach one-on-one, and then I can ask myself, is this from insecurity, or is this from really your preference as an introvert?
Yeah. Well,
There
I
are
can
many.
tell you, I'm also, although I do my laugh-in show, I also am quite introverted, and I like my alone time. So I'll spend days kind of alone. And when I want to do my coaching, I really prefer the one-on-one, right? That's my preferred, and it's only more recently where I'll bring more in and do bigger sessions, because there's people need it for whatever they're trying to do with their groups. But yeah, I've often, similar to you, have had that preference of just the intimacy of the one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
an
you have all
insecurity
your
as well.
attention there. Yeah, you can accustom the lesson and the session for the person, and I love to give my attention fully to one energy and not to spread it over a lot of energies. Yeah.
Yeah. I also noticed that when you do it, of course, you'll be interacting with one individual, but that interaction has triggers for others. So you're not really, when you're doing work with a group, you're not really, when you're speaking to one person, you're actually always interacting with 8 others, for instance, but it's inside their head. So you're not really interacting with it, but you're dealing with the fact that they're being triggered by how you interact with a single individual.
In the group, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did that too complicated how I said it?
No. But like, I have an image of Andy maybe saying conventionally inappropriate things to someone.
Yeah.
With an intention carried with love, but whatever, everyone will have an interpretation, or like, how does that impact me? Oh, that's sexless. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that. So everyone will have a kind of trigger.
Yeah. So that's why there's a lot of trust required, especially for the work I do, because when there's trust, then everyone understands the intentions are always with love and trying to support an individual to discover something new, for instance.
Yeah.
So how one does that, every coach or mentor, we all have our own ways of doing it. Some, like you said earlier, which I really love, the comment you made was like that the way you do it, Bambos, is more with a masculine energy, and the way I'll do it is more with a feminine energy. There's oftentimes I've seen either the masculine or the feminine judge the other energy as lesser because it wasn't the way that they did it. And what I found beautiful, again, in how you operate is you're like, I see that works for you, and actually, but it's just not the way I process the world. Right?
Love that.
Yeah, it's really great.
What does insecurity mean? Like, if you take this word, what does it mean? Like,
Wow. I mean, I associate it with fear, the fear of the not knowing.
Yeah, if you take the word itself, there is no security.
Yeah.
And are we ever secure?
No.
Well, I mean, let's agree that you're going to a beautiful place of, are you willing to surrender to that there is no security, or are there times in life that we believe ourselves to be more secure than we actually are?
Yeah. I think the corona kind of like shattered everyone's world in terms of security, when it came to town.
Yeah.
And at least in my introspective, it really like confirmed a lot of things. Like, the way we're living doesn't really make sense. And then what does make sense, if you said that, like, what is the new norm? And my mind doesn't know what the new norm is. Like, what will be the new norm? And people say we're not going to go back to the way things were. So what are we saying? What are we moving towards as a people?
And that's what you would call insecurity.
Yeah, fear from the unknown, definitely.
Yeah.
It was interesting. This morning I'm going to be posting an article in Buzzworthy from a teacher called Sugata Mitra, who has a TED Talk where he started the Start Soul movement. And I spent a day with him, and he's considered to be at the forefront of the future of education. He did this experiment where he took the computer and put it in a wall in India, and the kids learned math and language fast, or as fast as kids that were in schools. So basically, the kids could teach themselves. And
Wow.
And from there, he started to create, I would almost say, insecurity in that sense by saying, hey, there's a way that we haven't considered teaching, which is that we get out of the way and let children begin to learn. Right? We don't teach them anymore. We just facilitate them to learn, right? They'll often call it self-directed learning. And the thing that hit me when I was in this was that I spent a day with him, and he was talking to a room of a few hundred teachers, and he never told them what the future was going to be of learning. Like, so they came to see him talk about the future of learning. He's the guru of the future of learning, and then he didn't talk about it at all. And all he did was he kept asking wondrous questions that forced them to go into another state of mind, so that they'd have to begin to reflect on, how does the world look if I look at it through this state of mind? How does the world look if I look at it through this state of mind? And the way he began his talk was, he said, you got to think all these teachers coming around, he's been invited, he's got 10 million viewers of his video on TED Talk. It's like big guy. And he said, so I got a message today that said, what is emptiness? So let's spend the next 15 minutes discussing what's emptiness. And then he just started the talk. And then and the whole idea, and what I find so wondrous and beautiful, and why I wrote the article, was because what I've found was that in the wonder, we actually allow new ideas to form and create new awarenesses to arise. And it's a state of mind more so than it is a way to set out rules, regulations, because all we're doing is replacing one limited system with another limited system. And so that's sort of this brilliance of, like, great leaders. They instill ideas in the world, and other people now have to sit with those ideas and see where it brings them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the education system should be changed completely after this. Yes,
Yeah.
I think people are noticing it more and more. I
that's
actually
nice.
left the university. I didn't even finish the degree because of the way it was taught. I couldn't be independent thinking at all there.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
And I consider myself eternal student because I keep learning all the time. And with now age of information in social media and everywhere for free, I get over, like, it's too much sometimes. Like, I enrolled to so many courses that it's like too much.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all the courses online, you probably get everything you'd need without ever having to go to university nowadays. Especially the things you'd need for a job, right? If you just thought that I need these 10 skills to get a job, if you did 10 courses, you'd be probably suited to more jobs than after you finish 4 years of a education at a university at this moment. Yeah. But I didn't want to go into that direction per se, but I wanted to share that there's an interesting paradigm, which is, if we're in one paradigm and we need to go to another paradigm, a lot of people say, well, you are the one who has to tell us what the new paradigm is and how to get there. Instead of allowing the insecurity of the not knowing to become its own wondrous world of discovery. And that was the thing that I found Sugata's talk so meaningful. And I do believe, as we proceed further, it's in the wonder that we'll begin to find answers to these questions, and not in the what's going to replace it.
Can you give, like, examples of wonder?
An example of wonder would be like, so I can feel it in my head. So it's an actual state of mind. It's not like, so when I asked myself, what's the future of education? I go directly to my logical side of the brain. Like, I start to think, well, it would have the classroom, and the classrooms would have a structure, and the teacher would be self-directed. And, I'd use logical words to try to create it, take the control that my brain needs in order to feel secure again.
Yeah.
In the world of the wonder, I'm just sitting there like, wow, let me close my eyes. I'm just feeling like I see myself walking. I almost now feel myself regressing into a child state. And I see this classroom. I don't see desks in the classroom at all. I don't see chairs. I see a lot of walls, and all the walls have written things about like what all the kids are interested in learning about. And I see sort of like the kids might assemble in certain areas where they're more interested in other areas to learn, and that they then get to exercise and learn in the areas they're actually excited about. And the teacher is almost there just to make sure that they continue to be supported whenever they run into struggle. And then I see communicative spaces where all of a sudden, if someone needs help, they can go into maybe a spacious circle, and then they can go there. And then if someone wants to go help them, they can join them there to help them with a question they might have. Like that's sort of this wondrous space that I see forming as I live in the question of what would it look like? What would it look like? What would it look like? Yeah. Does that answer the question, or is that?
I actually asked you what would a wondrous question look like, but then you actually shared what the state would look like.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, because a question. Let's be honest with ourselves. The same exact question can be experienced as wondrous or not by anybody.
Oh, it depends on how you choose to receive it.
It's yeah.
Bravo.
Like a horrible question can be received as wondrous, or a great question can be received as not wondrous.
Yeah.
Like the question is like, how do you receive it? Sometimes I had a real hard time with this subject because I'd hear the prejudices in people that would ask me questions, especially if someone says, "Well, okay, then you come up. You give me a better idea then." Like there's no question there. They're just trying to make a statement that you can't make a better idea. So the question then is, how willing are you, even in that state where you might even be defensive, to be totally open and say, "Hey, let's give it a thought."
Nice. I love it.
And it'll freak people out sometimes, right? Because in some ways they didn't intend for you to really accept it as an open question. But if you receive it that way, I mean, I got one guy that was so angry at me because he was trying to make a statement. Like I said, I was making a discovery of something. It's like, oh, wow, I'm starting to really see this. I'm either, in all my decisions, I see a very clear, I'm either going away from a pain or going to a pleasure. Like I'm starting to feel into this. And he said, that's not true. And he said it with aggression and defensiveness. But I was like, oh, that's cool. So where am I wrong? What am I missing? And then he got really defensive and he said, well, all the books say that. And I said, well, I mean, I don't read a lot of books. So what are the books? Help me understand what the books are. Like, give me so the more I was wondrously wondering and asking without any intention of trying to like create, he got just more and more angry.
So did you ask him what he needed?
No, because in some ways he was already, so I was coaching his wife. It was aggression towards me because he was trying to destroy basically whatever he could of the idea that I might be able to help his wife with my coaching.
I know the story.
Yeah, did not end pretty, but
I think you should do a topic of how to have discussion with people. It's like a whole topic for itself, really. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So back to insecurity and being a photographer. 98 to 99% of my clients like live that stressful moment up until the shoot, and it's like people come with an idea of how they should show up, but completely disconnected. Like so much activity here, and my job as a photographer is to heighten awareness as to what's happening in the body, like where are you, and then bring them into the body. And normally the story is that, especially with women, is I'm too fat. I booked this shoot 2 months ago and I should have lost weight. My husband hasn't had sex with me for 2 years, so I'm here as this shoot was a gift, but I didn't. I wouldn't actually do it. I want to feel like a woman. And if it's a corporate woman, It's like I really want to have feminine pictures, but I know those images will not be received in the corporate world because I need to blend in. So there's all these stories, and the invitation that I always give my clients is, look, this is your shoot. We have 60 minutes. How would it look like for you if I invited you on a journey where we just take a breath, we actually have fun, and we allow the moment to unfold. Whenever there's a bit of contraction, we name it, but we actually embrace every moment, every click. And we kind of use that as a letting go of the outcome. So just focus on the journey. And then the question is like, yeah, we'll be lucky if I get one good picture. But then at the end of the shoot is normally they have problems picking a picture.
But I have a question for you about that, Bambos.
It depends.
Like we have so many different personalities, and just like you said, if I can be a woman and feminine, and then in the corporate I want to be someone else. Like I'm not going to talk about sex at work in the office, but sex is part of my life and part of who I am as a human being. So like when you take a picture of someone, do you aim for one true personality for it whole, or a different personalities?
My advice is normally, or my suggestions would be, bring a few choice of outfits. Bring something professional, bring something playful, something casual, something which makes you feel like a woman or a man, depending on in which body you're living in. So bring a variety, and we're just going to play with the different flavors that you embody. And sometimes, to my surprise, people will pick the image for a professional image, where in the beginning they said no. Like they liked the way they stood in their body in that. So sometimes we don't see how empowered we are when we wear outfits which feel good. And obviously it wasn't like with a big cleavage. It was a beautiful dress. It was red. So it's quite a powerful shot. Why do you ask that question?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it a lot because how do I combine all my personalities? Because I have so many of them. Like really, in the corporate, I'm one Iris, and with friends, I'm another, and with people that talk about personal development or yoga, I'm a different. So and they're all me. They're all me, like as a human being. So I find it interesting how we come out, who do we let come out when we are in interactions with people. And I was also supposed to do a photo shoot with you, Bambos, about being confident. So again, this overcoming insecurities and confidence, because I wanted to embody this confident Iris, because she's not always there. Like sometimes there's shy Iris and sometimes confident. So it's really interesting how many personalities we carry with us.
Well, my invitation, if I hear you speak, would be, how about just allow Iris to show up insecure or confident, and then work from there. Like we're always waiting for that perfect moment. I need to be a certain way to show up, and the invitation is show up, allow yourself to exist, and just trust it's perfect.
Definitely.
But the question on that would be, how comfortable would you be being that in the office space today?
Being who?
The uncomfortable Edith. The insecure Edith.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not insecure in the office, but that's the thing. The insecurity can come in different ways. Like if I need to talk with someone about a raise or present something in front of everybody, then I get insecure a bit. But on the day-to-day life, I'm not insecure there. It's like a natural habitat for me. So that's what I'm saying. It comes up in different places. It's not like this is me and this is me. It's all together me.
Yeah, but then I've often had, this is an interesting discussion about the separation between work and life. Like I don't separate the two. Like I am the same in how I operate, and how I discuss is always the same.
It's true. He'll show up to a big corporate meeting in tennis shoes.
I was in a business meeting. I dropped my pants and said, "Now let's talk about you and your damn professionalism. Fucking get over it. You're gonna go bankrupt. Like no more professionalism. That word doesn't exist. Like how do you get it done?"
And he did drop his pants.
So my question is like, like where do you like start to blend those two? Because what's weird, what I found fascinating with what you just said is I would expect someone to be insecure about what they were doing in the office, not insecure about what they were doing outside of the office. Like I said, how would you be if, you know, like the little insecurities doing the presentation? You're like, no, I got all that. But when I'm in my private life, I'm less, then I'm assuming the insecurity is coming more with letting people really see yourself in the private as opposed to the business. Is that true, or where am I missing?
Yeah, I guess it's complicated because I can get insecure in the office, but most of the time I will be confident there. And then I can be confident outside of the office and sometimes get insecurity. So that's the thing. It comes in different places. I think the most insecurity I have is, yes, around people, because I'm so used to be by myself and self-love that when it comes to, okay, come to other people, but will they love me as I love myself? So kind of there or something.
Okay, so the insecurity then for you would be, am I to be loved, I guess?
Kind of, yeah. I think insecurity comes when every time that we encounter something new and unfamiliar, like we said before, the unknown. So, for example, for me, this is the first time doing this broadcast, so I'm a bit insecure. But the next time I'm gonna do broadcast, I will be confident as hell.
Yeah.
So, and then also what helped me, like I said, around people is the notice and the acceptance of, okay, I am who I am. If someone won't like me or if someone will like me, I don't control it, and I accept it, kind of something like that.
Like, do you like when we look at this person, Iris? To what degree do you censor yourself in your life, like making choices, like as a woman, like putting certain pictures online to show yourself, or like how to what degree do you censor yourself?
A lot. That's the thing. There's a lot of different censorships. Like I used to not speak or talk about sex on Facebook because I have my family there, and now I do because I don't care anymore. So it's like it's a whole work and process. It's like, okay, sometimes I can be insecure about something, but I will work on it. So then a few months later, you will see me doing it. So I'm always in favor of work.
Do they ever call you when you talk about sex and say, "Hey, Iris, why are you talking about sex on Facebook?"
Or have they called you and said, Iris, can you help me with your father?
What? Can
you give me sex advice for me and your father?
No, I don't know. No, it's not my near family, like the extended family that I was more afraid of. No, they never did say anything. So yeah, maybe it's in my head.
It's in your head. I was just curious if the idea ever became a reality. Like, oh, now I have to, because Bambos has a similar in his lives, right? He's sharing details about himself and his life, and he's also sort of been overcoming a lot of the ideas that he might actually hurt these people another time with things that they have to go through. So that's been part of his journey.
That was a discovery.
Yeah.
That's why I understand completely why you do that. Like everything we do has a purpose. It's the journey, it's the growth. Yeah.
So we've got 2 minutes on.
2 minutes.
2 minutes till we come to the top of our hour. Anything else you'd like to share to close?
Oh, let's look at my notes.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to live my life with these practices and the self-love and a lot of Buddhism as a way of living, like the non-attachment, the non-judgment, the non-competition, the tamed ego. All these things are really helpful for me. So I see yoga as a way of life and not only the postures on the mat. So it's really a whole, like you see Buddha behind me.
Yeah.
I really live this life of, I'm trying to do it as much as possible with all the theories of Buddhism.
Yes. Thank you for joining us for the hour. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Iris. Good to see you.
And thank you for being our real champion.
Thank you for inviting me.
One of our fans. I think we can call Iris a fan.
Yeah. Groupie.
A groupie. Except a groupie, you need more than one person, Bambos. Or maybe not. So thank you.
See you later, Iris. Thank you for being here. So I just had in my mind a person that I'd really love to have on a Wonderful Chaos.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Who's that?
You.
Oh, wow. And
Like,
am I going to interview myself?
Well, actually, you're going to go and sit downstairs.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to invite maybe Mariana to join me, and we're going to
Oh, nice.
unpack you.
Unpack me. Oh, wow.
That will be so much fun.
That'll be fun. I'm in. Let's book it.
I need to check it.
we got May booked all fully, getting into the following month. Let's quickly discuss tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show, we have Steve McCurdy.
Yeah, tell me about him.
Steve McCurdy. You know Steve because Steve did the voiceover for The Last Letter.
And I've listened to that book.
I was going to say, you've heard Steve's voice for hours. You'd be like friends by the time he gets on. So Steve, basically, I fell in love with his voice. And I said, he's going to do the voiceover. I reached out to him. We had really great contact. And I love him. As he read the book, he said, Andy, he was doing a cold read, which means he was just reading it. And he said he'd cry as he was reading it. And he said, do we edit it out? And I said, no, we leave it in there. So he basically would be feeling his own emotion as he was reading it. Wow. And we became, quite close through that process, because he would give me a play-by-play after he read each chapter, what it did to him. So he didn't only do the voiceover, but he also shared the impact it was having on him.
You guys should have freaking recorded that.
And we could have, but I wasn't as
seriously
organized as I am now. So Steve is on, and he basically, I saw that about a month ago, he fell in love with a woman on another side of America, 70 years old, sold everything he owned, put it in a trailer truck, right? And he drove across to this woman just to follow love at 70. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I'm like, I want to have him on to discuss this. So he's also famous. He's like a famous radio show guy. So he was, when the golden age of radio was coming out, he was a golden voice in that age. So he actually has a massive amount of experience there.
Wow.
And then on Friday, that's at 4 p.m., by the way, not our regular 12.
4 p.m. Amsterdam
time, Central Eastern. And 12 on Friday, we have Niels Elzinga.
Yeah.
Elzinga. And he wrote The Balkan Blues. His face is plastered all over Amsterdam at the moment. Because the book has just been released and the publisher did a good job of making sure that everyone saw his face. He does have a beautiful face. So basically, they figured we'll probably sell more if women get to see that this man actually, it does exist.
Yeah.
So that is it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Wonderful Chaos. It was great to be with you. And we will see you hopefully tomorrow, I guess. And if not, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.